Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Help for HDTV. Today marks our very first Help for HDTV video for HD Awareness Month. And we decided for HD Awareness Month that we were going to bring on community members to talk about awareness for the 4 shows in May. Our very first guest is Teresa, and we are so excited to have her on with us today. And Teresa, why don't you start by telling us how HD impacts your life and who you fight for?
I fight for my son, Benjamin, and my daughter who is at risk, and their half sister and a niece who are both at risk as well. Really, I fight for the community in whole because knowledge is power, and the more we can spread awareness, the more everybody in this community can get help.
Yeah, so true. The louder we are and the more we put it in front of people's faces, the more people understand a little bit more about it and have at least heard the words Huntington's disease. Can you tell us about a time that you and Benjamin were put into a situation because of lack of awareness about Huntington's disease?
There's been several times where Benjamin has been pulled over by the police. He had phone calls made about a dangerous person walking down the street, flailing his arms or stumbling, pictures of him posted on Facebook with people just worried about who it is that's out there walking along the street when he was just out trying to exercise. Luckily, nothing came of the stops with the officers. They did interrogate him for a bit each time, but they ended up letting him go. And then he would be like, I got pulled over. I don't even know why. And a couple of the notices that we found on Facebook, they were in community sections and basically telling the whole world that this man is a dangerous man when they've never even met him, never asked anything about him, had no idea what was really going on until I would private message them and ask them to remove their post and tell them what was going on. Those are just a couple of examples. That's happened several times. There was also a time where we were out to eat and his movements, his chorea was bad, and he kept banging his head on the back of the bench. It was a tall bench. And the lady on the other side of the bench would stand up on her bench to look over at us to see what was going on, but never said a word. And I would just smile at her. And then after we left, because I didn't want to embarrass Benjamin at all, but after we left, went back to her and I just said, he's got Huntington's disease. He's not banging on purpose and annoying you on purpose, but I think it's affected him in that he doesn't really like to go out in public anymore, especially to restaurants and stuff. And I don't know if it's because of the chorea or because of the mess he makes or just apathy toward going out. I'm not really sure, but those are just some of the instances where no knowledge.
Do you think if these people, especially this lady that kept standing up on her chair, that was a little bit extreme, I would say. You said you talked to her about Huntington's? Okay.
After Benjamin and Nicole left the restaurant, I said, just a minute. And I went back in and I just told her, he's not doing it on purpose. He's got Huntington's disease. It's a degenerative disease. And one of the things that comes with it is a movement.
And what was her reaction?
Oh, she was like, oh, okay.
It's interesting, right? Like when we start telling people in public and we're like, hey, this isn't happening on purpose to bother you or annoy you or have any negative impact on your life. And like a little bit of awareness, right? Or a little bit of community education can go pretty far because typically people get very humbled very quick and their reactions they realize are unnecessary. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that she was just, oh, light bulb, it clicked.
Yeah.
And maybe next time that will change her behavior, whether it's HD or something else. Now, in public, have you and or Benjamin experienced anything dangerous that has come of public impact and different situations that happen with lack of awareness?
It's interesting to me, though, that people's first perception is he's either drunk or on drugs or danger in some way rather than ill.
I could see how it could like incite, at least with some family members. We've seen things where it kind of escalates and you don't even realize what's happening so quickly. But if the person with HD doesn't straight up say, I have Huntington's or something like that, how it can escalate into, dude, you're drunk, or like a little bit of a mouth. And that can, depending on how the person decides to react, can be a positive information session or something that can become even physical. We've seen.
He did run into one person recently where he was asking to bum a smoke, and they were like, oh man, I was ready to call the police on you. You scared me. Actually, there was a dangerous situation that he put himself. When he was first diagnosed, he was getting onto some websites for dates and had scheduled a date, and the young lady came over to pick him up, but she wasn't the one driving. Somebody else was driving, and he was like, hey, and she said, it's okay. I can't drive. You can't drive. He's just going to drive us. So he got in the back seat, and behind him, there was another man, and they literally only drove around the corner and then started attacking him. He ended up in the hospital, very bad shape. He was there for about a week. They stole his wallet, stole his phone, and there was only $20 in his wallet. But it seemed their purpose was to hurt him physically because they hit him over the head with a brick.
Oh
and
my gosh.
There was, I guess, blood everywhere in his apartment. And when he called me to try to tell me what was going on, he just called and said, somebody stole my wallet. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, he lost his wallet a lot around that time. So I was constantly replacing it. So I was just like, call the police. Why are you calling me? And so he hung up and he called the police. And then 2 hours later, I get a call from the hospital going, why are you not here? And I'm like, what's going on? What are we talking about? But that was a pretty traumatic and dangerous experience that he was in. And he had also he was drinking at that time. He's not drinking anymore, thank God. But he'd also gotten into a couple of fights at a bar because the bartender tried to take his drink away and say that he'd had enough. And he didn't like that. So he punched the bartender, different things like that. In the very, very beginning, he was having a lot of hallucinations and stuff, and that caused other legal issues too. So there are dangerous situations that he's been in.
The interesting part is dating online is so common, right? That's how we date now. It's like more was his lack of judgment, maybe.
No idea why or what he was thinking or going through, but definitely impulsive, lack of awareness thing. And it was a planned attack, obviously.
And obviously they were trying to look for someone a little more vulnerable and accepting of a type of date like that. So his willingness and his lack of kind of awareness probably created that. So that's unfortunate that they literally targeted someone who was unable to make a decision that would keep him safe.
We talk about awareness. Some people are just, I can't say the word because I'm on Help for HGTV. If I had my own podcast or something that was affiliated, I would say the word I want to say. Some people are just very bad people in this world, no matter what. Some people want to target people who are sick. Some people target who are people who are vulnerable. That way they can do things like what was done to Benjamin. I think it's more like the police pulling him over and things like that. Thank goodness things did not escalate. That's why awareness is so important for law enforcement, because they are going to come in contact with our loved ones. They just are.
And yeah, they definitely are.
Yeah, for so many different reasons. And I just think anyone, just after even that story, please hook up with Vicki Owen and get your law enforcement kits, get your ID cards, get your window decals for your cars, strap up with as much awareness and resources that you can to support you through an encounter. And I know it's not always going to work. We're not guaranteeing it's going to work, but maybe you'll get an officer or first responder that has more empathy and will take the time and listen, and it will help the family.
If you could help people understand just one thing about HD, what would that be and why?
Oh, Lord, that's such a hard one. It's just so different for everyone. And I don't know. Can we come back to that one? We could go back to how it impacts your life, because I don't think I finished that one.
Okay, we could do that.
So I think it impacts your life in every way. As a caregiver and somebody who's working, it's really hard to balance that work, care, life. Somebody's always getting shorted there. It's also really hard to give your loved one the care that they need while also trying to keep them as independent as possible and trying to bring that balance in there. It also impacts your social life in that there's a lot of isolation that comes with Huntington's disease for both the person affected and the caregiver family. Friends just drop away for the most part. Some families are lucky and don't have that, but we have had that pretty dramatically. So it's pretty isolating. And then home life, home maintenance, trying to get him the food that he needs, and then the caregiver's health care as well is at risk because they just give so much. Yeah, that's how it's affected me.
You make a really good point about, we talk about awareness of Huntington's disease, but what you just brought up is Huntington's caregiver awareness that is often overlooked during this campaign. Typically, I think it's really important because what you just said is an awareness of our caregivers and our HD loved ones that feel isolated. They feel alone a lot of the times. They feel left behind. And so maybe a greater awareness of how Huntington's affects the way it makes our families feel maybe would help some family, maybe not all of them, but some family members understand the impact that they've actually caused, probably not even really knowing it all the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can we come back to the last one?
Okay.
Katrina, go for it.
If you could help people understand one thing about HD, what would that be and why?
That it's not their fault. They can't help it. It can come with so many different things that are not just ALS or dementia, or it can come with psychosis. It can come with OCD. It can come with behavioral issues, but they can't help it. It's not their fault, and just have compassion.
I love that.
That's it right there. And I know that Katrina is really more forceful about this than I am, but I am too as well, is that we get compared to so many other diseases, Alzheimer's, ALS, Parkinson's. We're not that. We're Huntington's.
Right.
We are Huntington's.
We're Huntington's community. We're not the ALS community. We're not the Parkinson's community. We're not the Alzheimer's community. People say it helps people understand it. No, it really doesn't, because HD is its own thing and has its own challenges. We need to have a better understanding, a greater awareness to the public about HD, so we aren't comparing ourselves to other diseases. Thank you, Teresa, so much for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And I love that they can't help it and everyone's different. Teresa said, some people have psychosis, some people don't. Some people have movement, some people don't. So have a very large awareness. Any final thoughts before we jump off here? No. Besides come to Michigan?
Come to Michigan.
Yay, Michigan. We'll be there.
Come to Michigan for our education day.
Yes, August 12th. Registration is open. So go to www.helpforhd.org and get yourself registered if you are going to be in the area. We would love to have you. It's going to be an awesome event. Lots of fun, lots of education. I think we're going to 10:30 at night with DJs and an after party, but then also a day full of expert speakers. And we're really excited about the lineup. So come join us. And I think that'll do it. You guys, don't forget to like this video and just subscribe to the channel below and ring the bell for notifications when more videos like this come out. Until next time.